So, for those of you who do not yet know me all that well, I am a personal chef. How appropriate is today's reading for me? We get to talk all about food, which anybody that's met me outside of here will know that I like to do regularly. This, however, is not easy food to talk about. I just really want you to think first and foremost about what it would have been like for the Jews that were hearing this message. Really, it's easy for us to sit here now and look back and say, we believe. Although, even though it's easy for us, if you look at all the research that's out there, according to what we're told, we are now at about 70% of the people that are here in this church right now that actually believe what we just read. So, I don't want to focus on that. What I want to focus on was how hard is that message really to hear, especially for the Jews. Now, I could say something like, if a person were to walk up to you on the street and look you in the face and say, hey, if you eat me and drink my blood, you will have eternal life. Excuse me? I need the police. This person just told me to eat his body, right? Seriously, that's how difficult that would be. But now, it would be a little easier, maybe, if it were a prophet saying this to you, or at least you would think it would be, right? But still, you have to think of the Jews' position who knew Jesus' mother and father, who knew him growing up. And now he's preaching to them in the synagogues, saying, eat my flesh and drink my blood. Sorry, that still had to be like, whoa, Scar, excuse me, what? Okay, we can back up for just a second and talk about the readings, the previous readings, because they are important. In Proverbs, wisdom has built her house, lovely. She has set out her maidens, she calls for the heights. Let whoever is simple here, come, eat of my food and drink of the wine I have mixed. Essentially, come, feast on wisdom. Okay, that the Jews could swallow. That's a good concept for them. Feast on wisdom. Yes, they understood that. Feast on the wisdom that the Lord has provided us in Proverbs and these prophets. That makes sense. Glorify the Lord with me. Let us all together extol his name. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Again, not a tough concept to understand. They got that. The Lord loves them. He wants to provide for them. If you think about today's reading, the very last part of it, he did provide for them. He provided them the manna in the desert. They understand the concept of bread coming from heaven. That's not a hard concept. Paul doubles down on the wisdom part. Be wise. Don't act foolishly. Don't let the food that you're given turn you into debauchery. Don't abuse it. Just like back when they were given the bread from heaven. Don't abuse it. They were told, don't hold on to the bread, right? Anybody that holds on to the bread, you're in trouble. Trust in the Lord. Trust in God's wisdom. They get all that stuff. But now, eat my flesh, drink my blood, and you will have eternal life. I spent a long time, a really, really, really long time, trying to think of something that would be as challenging for us today to think about, or as tough for humans in general to think about, as that concept. So I came up with a couple of things. For instance, we go out during the day and we have light. There's this big yellow thing that floats up in the sky, right? That gives us light. And it moves across the sky. right? It moves. That yellow thing moves across the sky. No, it doesn't. That's what we thought. We go out at night. We look up. We see all the beautiful stars. All these beautiful stars that move across the sky in a pattern, and it's the same pattern every night, and they move, and they come, and they shine before us. No, they don't. How long did it take us to figure out that we were not the center of the earth? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, we haven't figured that out yet. We still think we're the center of the world. We're not. But how long did it take us to figure out that we were standing on a planet that orbits in a solar system around a sun? Thousands of years, people. And that's an easy concept to understand. We can scientifically prove that one now. Or how about this one? I go out my door, I get to look up to the west, and I see these big, beautiful mountains. And I can look to the east, and I see the flat plains, and I can see for a long ways. It's nice and flat. And if I walk for a really long ways, I can get to the ocean. That's the end of the world, right? The ocean, the end of the world? Oh, and the world is flat, right? It's just, that's it. It just stops right there. Wrong again. But once again, that concept took us a long time to refute. Sadly, we have to refute it again these days to some people. I don't know if y'all have heard of the flatlander theories that are out there. I'm like, really? Okay. But it's kind of the same notion, right? People have lost their way in our faith. People have been told and informed in our faith that Jesus is the true bread of life, and they've lost their way. I guess it's not that hard of a concept to believe that people might have started believing that the world is flat. Yeah, I still can't believe that. Sorry. Anyway. But the point is, all of those things took us thousands of years to really figure out. Now, the benefit that the Jews had is that God was sitting in their presence. Just as God sent the prophets to give them wisdom in the past that they could follow it, God is sitting right there in their presence, and he says to them, "Eat my blood, eat my flesh, and drink my blood." It wasn't a metaphor for those that might think that it was. No. Literally, the translation I've heard some scholars say says, "Gnaw on my flesh." He said it the first time around, and it was the words he used were eat. The second time he says to them, actually, gnaw on my flesh. Sorry, that's a little gross, but that's what he says to do. He doesn't say, "Do this in memory of me, and this is a symbol of my flesh and blood." This is my flesh and blood. This will bring you eternal life. That is a really hard concept for the Jews to believe. And I gotta say that moving forward, it's even hard for a lot of born and raised Catholics to believe. There is no greater gift to us than Jesus' body and blood, our salvation. So why do so many people have a difficult time believing that? Well, I have a theory. You see, there's somebody else that was created with an immense amount of knowledge who would like nothing better than for everybody in this room to join him and not have the opportunity to join God for eternity. Satan has zero desire for you to spend your eternal life with God. As a matter of fact, he's tremendously jealous that you have the opportunity to. He is jealous of the fact that we were created to understand this concept. We were created to walk with Jesus in the garden. That's how far back this idea goes. He wanted to walk with us eternally. We managed to screw that up. No surprise there. We are human. With Satan's help. Does that mean that we can never understand this concept? Satan's always going to get away? No, it doesn't. God has given us every opportunity, every way to come back to him. That salvation was not a one-time gift. Every time you come in here for this Mass, we get to participate in that gift. It is an ongoing physical gift of life here, present to us, every day, if you want to. We can come and have it every day. Join him, right? Be with me for eternity. Just as the living Father sent me, and I have life because of the Father, so also the one who feeds on me will have life because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven. We just got to have a beautiful Eucharistic Congress. It's important because of this reading. It's not an easy concept scientifically to digest or mentally to digest. But it is a gift. And if you struggle with it, pray with it. If you still struggle with it, come pray with Father. Come pray with me. There are a ton of books out there these days on the Eucharist. Beautiful, beautiful books. There is no greater important thing. And I'll just quote the Catechism once. I know it can be boring, but it's actually beautiful. This idea of the Eucharist is the source and summit of our faith, and the greatest gift that God has ever given us. Take that gift as often as you can.